Good evening, and welcome to the television graveyard. We are your TV necromancers, Laura Prince and Noah Houlihan. We have come here tonight to examine the spirits of past television shows, to find out which ones could be resurrected, should be resurrected, and which ones should just stay doomed. This will be a podcast in which we analyze the history, the hype, and the aftermath of shows that ran one season, or even less, including some that ran for only one episode. For this first month, we will be exhuming the worst and weirdest of reality TV. Welcome to my co-host, Noah Houlihan.
Yes, glad to be here in this mad house.
We're going real ham-handed with what we're doing.
Kind of, you drop it immediately.
It's hard, and it makes me sound pretentious.
Okay, then. So let's just jump right into this.
All right, we're doing Mad House, which as far as the reality genre goes, if last week was the performance genre, this is the people live in a house and get eliminated from a house genre.
Yeah.
But all of these have twists, and this one is no different. There are only 10 contestants, which seems like a very low number, and it seems like they have to make up for lost time later because of it.
True.
And they live with the 5 alt.
We are the 5 alts. A vampire.
A witch.
A voodoo priestess.
A naturist. A modern primitive. We've invited 10 ordinary people to live in our house.
And experience our world.
We will challenge them.
You have 5 glasses of blood to drink.
Judge them.
He has to grow or go.
And eliminate them one by one.
Please leave immediately.
Who will dare to open their mind?
I don't want to talk to you anymore.
Who will impress us the most?
Is it what we're looking for in this house?
We'll reward the last guest remaining with $100,000.
This truly is more than just a game.
Welcome to the Mad House.
Okay, so I watched this show first run, and I have a few issues with it. And we've already hit my first one.
The show, just to give a one-sentence background, ran in March of 2004 for 10 episodes in one season, and on Sci-fi channel as part of their, I believe, Monday night block.
Yes, because I gave up wrestling to watch it.
Yes. Okay, so what was bothering you?
We have 5 alts.
Right.
Each of different, backgrounds. We have the vampire and the Wiccan and stuff like that. When push comes to shove, what is a modern primitive?
Okay, so the modern primitive movement started in the 1960s.
Okay.
Yeah, this is actually a real movement.
Go for it.
It started in the 1960s. From my research, it's a lot of going back to the mind over matter idea. Like, Art Aguirre, who's the modern primitive, was diagnosed with cancer in his youth.
Oh my goodness.
And recovered, thankfully, but very much credited his ability to master his body with his mind. And I'm sure there was also medical treatment involved too, but I think he emphasized the mental aspects of recovery, and that kind of put him down this road to this movement. But this movement has been in existence since the 1960s.
Okay, so in the 1 minute you took to explain it to me, you did a better job than this show did in explaining what a modern primitive was.
Unlike the show, I Googled it.
That's pretty good, because in the course of this show, we learned some stuff about Wicca, kind of. We learned some stuff about
wrong
voodoo,
stuff about
kind of. Like, they're kind
voodoo?
of... Voodoo, yeah. Where you can rent movies on your PlayStation, about voodoo. We learned some stuff about naturists, and we learned some stuff about vampires. But, the show never goes beyond Art has tattoos and likes to meditate.
Yeah.
In terms of explaining what he is.
You're right. Art does something that very few people ever do on a reality show. He comes out looking totally sane.
Yeah.
Out of the 5 alts, I would say Art is the only one that comes out smelling like a rose at the end.
Okay, interesting.
He gets into the argument with Fiona, but he's also right.
I don't necessarily agree, but we'll get into that a little bit further, because we haven't even... The contestants are living with the 5 alts, but that's not all.
Yeah?
Like, the premise of the show.
Alright, so the contestants were told... I found an interview with Lana that is of questionable origin.
Okay.
There were no pictures on the site. I really have no proof she wrote it.
Other than it says so?
Yeah, and other than the fact that it's written in a way that's completely unflattering for her. In a way that you would only write about yourself if you weren't super self-aware.
Gotcha.
And I also had to, dig through and find it on the Internet Wayback Machine.
Yeah.
We love the Internet Wayback Machine on this show.
Yeah, it's going to be key.
So, she claims that they were, and I totally believe this part of the claim, that they were told it would be a Big Brother / Survivor type show.
Right.
That she believed she'd be really good for because she's in good shape and,
Cunning.
She's in good shape and thought she was cunning and thought she could, do well in physical challenges.
Right.
She actually expresses disappointment later in that interview that when she sees Tim and Bonnie, who are... She calls Tim elderly.
Yeah, but...
But Tim's maybe late 40s.
Tim and Bonnie are reality show elderly.
Yeah, they're late 40s, early 50s at the time of the show. Bonnie might actually be in her mid to late 50s.
Yeah.
She's older than Tim, certainly. But neither is Kane and Walker old.
Right.
So, to round out who else we're working with here, you have Nicole, who is perky. You have Brent, who is aggressively Christian. We don't know how Christian he is in his daily life, but we know he was edited to look very Christian. Eric, who is a snake. Lana, who is the girl about whom I know the most because of her interview.
Yeah, right.
Jamie, who is an exotic dancer looking to get out of the life. Hameen, who is a factory tech. Tim, who's a horse rancher, and he's kind of like a good old boy.
Right.
I think it's in quotes, he actually calls himself a good old boy.
Good old boy.
And then we have Noel, who is aggressively genre savvy.
Yes.
He's
a janitor.
Noel's I'm here to win money. I'm a janitor, and that sucks.
Yes.
He's very genre savvy. He's the only one who laughs out loud when the alts show up.
Don, vampire.
Keep on sucking.
Yes. Yeah, he can't hold it together.
And then we have Kelly.
And yes, and the first part of the season is the Kelly arc. But before we get to that, so we have 10 contestants living with these 5 alts.
Right.
So what's the premise here?
The premise is it's one of those shows where there will be one winner who will get a cash prize, and the qualifications to win seem to be the most accepting and go on your spiritual journey and have your spiritual arc. It's very nebulous.
See, yeah.
It seems like it's kind of nebulous on purpose. It's be open-minded.
This is where I have my biggest issue with this show. Because they express that the alts will decide who will stay and who will go. And at the end of every episode, they have their...
elimination ceremony.
Elimination ceremony, where the alts will put a necklace around your neck. And if you end up with 3 out of the 5 necklaces, or the majority of the necklaces,
right,
you are sent home.
Right.
They never explain what you're supposed to be doing to not get a necklace.
And several of the eliminations feel arbitrary.
But this is key to a reality show. The goal is not clear, other than don't get necklaces.
Right.
But how you avoid getting a necklace is never... There's people say things about oh, it's about going on the journey, it's about growth, it's about accepting. None of this is ever said. There is no explanation of what they're supposed to be doing on the show.
Yeah, actually, to me, I know this is the live in the house, do challenges, and get eliminated genre, but it feels almost more like a dating show.
Yeah.
That level of emotional, arbitrary, and we see it kind of feel a little bit more like a dating show, especially in later episodes with certain contestants. And there's a fun gimmick of each week, or each 2 days essentially, each of the alts chooses a roommate.
Yes.
So out of the 10 starting out, 5 go into rooms with them, and then the other 5 live in like a dorm space.
Yeah. So I just wanted to make clear before we started breaking down what happens in these episodes that the contestants have no idea what the goal is other than I want to win the money. And there's kind of this feeling that you get watching it where if you say, I'm here for the money, you're a bad guy.
Yeah.
But there's no other goal in the house.
Right, and I think that does play into who eventually wins in a kind of an interesting way.
Because there's also the fact that you brought up earlier that they're not told they're going to be on this show.
No.
So it's a bunch of people that didn't know that's what the show was. That are so like, of course they're there to win money. This isn't why they signed up.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. This was not like advertised as like the spiritual journey reality show. I think this happens a lot though, because I think in like Flavor of Love, for instance, I'm almost positive they didn't tell those women that they were trying to date Flavor Flav.
Right. But the difference here is, let's flip the script a bit, and let's say that you have a contestant of 10 atheists, and the alts are all Christian. And it's, let's see who accepts Jesus the most.
Yeah.
This would be a disgusting show.
It's interesting because they don't ask them too much to, like, denounce their religion so much, but they do. There is definitely an element of they do the scary people first, the quote scary people. Like the first ritual we see is a voodoo ritual.
Yes.
Which could definitely seem disturbing if you don't know anything about it. Mm-hmm. And the first challenge, they tell the contestants, it's in my notes as, they tell the contestants they're doing a night hike.
Yeah.
And then they go out in the backyard.
Night hikes.
I mean, you have a naturist, it doesn't seem that odd.
Right.
I go for walks at night. But LOL, never mind, it's a giant pool of blood in the backyard. It actually says in my notes, quote, LOL, never mind, blood fountain.
Yes.
And they have to, like, dig through blood to find garlic and stuff, because it was the vampire's challenge. And the challenges are they're very harrowing.
Yes. So, we have our 10 contestants, and they go on a night hike after they've met the alts, and they're kind of figuring out what the show is, and they basically announce, we're going to play a game where the winner gets immunity.
Yeah.
Because the Survivor made immunity the thing. So, the winner gets immunity, cannot be eliminated at the elimination ceremony. Now, I will say this. From a reality show perspective, this first game is perfect.
Right.
Because the idea is...
For centuries, vampires like myself have been associated with certain myths. However, we don't fear garlic, we don't fear crosses, and we don't sleep upside down like a bat. One guest at a time from each pair will climb into the bloodbath and grab one of these objects: crosses, garlic, and bats. You are going to be placing it within the chalice of the person that you do not want to win this trial. At the end of 3 minutes, the guest with the fewest objects in their goblet is the trial.
Which is a brilliant reality show game because it starts drama.
Yeah.
And because you see the person drop it in your bucket. And also, nobody is like the favorite to win based off of physical skill here.
Right.
Like, the best you can do in this game is stop someone from winning. You can't make yourself win in this game. So it's such a good reality show game, and I applaud it for that.
So, for the most part, the format of an episode seems to be small slice of life section with talking heads.
Yes.
A ritual or a demonstration, a showcase. Showcase is the word they use that I forgot.
of what it's like to be one of these alts.
Yeah, the alts show off something that's important to their way of life. Mm-hmm. And then the challenge. And the challenges are... They vary wildly from being kind of fun-looking to just really, really over the top.
Yeah, and also some of them are very much luck-based.
Yes.
Which I was kind of like, where's the stratagem here? So, the first kind of arc that the show goes on, because we don't need to go episode by episode.
No, not for this one.
The first arc is a mix of this is weird, and Kelly is crazy.
Yeah, and we the first person we lose is Hameen, who's a factory tech.
Yes.
Because he refuses to participate in the voodoo rite. Mm-hmm. And Tashia, the voodoo priestess, just calls him out for being black and denying...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very awkward.
The voodoo priestess is also black, and she calls him out for kind of denying his ancestry. Mm-hmm. And denying who his people are. And so she calls him out in front of everybody, and then she's, I believe... votes for him to leave.
Yes. And it's right here, it's a very interesting conundrum we're in, because it's people being eliminated for having faith.
Right. And we also, something with the immunity that's important and comes up a couple of times is that if you have immunity, you can also cast a deciding vote.
Yeah, in the event of a tie, which I know there's 5 necklaces, and you think mathematically that won't happen. But every once in a while, an alt goes rogue.
Right.
And doesn't vote for the 2 people they discussed in the meeting. Yeah,
they'll vote for someone that has an entirely different reason, or that they personally have an axe to grind with for some reason.
So, we lose Amin, and it's early. So the people who have faith in something else and are like, I'm uncomfortable with doing something my God would not approve of, gets slowly chipped off.
Now, to be fair, the 4 people who participate in the voodoo rite are 4 of the top 5. Looking at it now,
that makes sense.
Noel, Jamie, Eric, and Nicole are the 4 who participate.
And because they want to win.
And Lana almost gets eliminated that round. Lana rounds out the top 5. She almost gets eliminated, but Brent needs to choose between her and Hameen, and he chooses Hameen.
Yes.
But let's get back to Kelly, because
get back to Kelly.
Crazy.
Now, before we get into her crazy thing, we have to mention she's a virgin. It comes up that she's a virgin. And she stays with Avocado.
Who is the naturist.
Who's the naturist.
Who doesn't like clothes.
Yeah, so she wakes up and he's walking around naked. And I was like, well, this is getting kind of close to a crime.
Yeah. I mean, what I imagine must happen that we don't see is I imagine that they are signing waivers after they meet the alts.
Yeah, they would have to sign an insane waiver.
I'm sure that the next thing that happens is they go off into another room that we don't see before the dinner, and there's a team of lawyers.
Yeah.
And a whole pile of waivers.
Because, again, flip the script. Avocado is the contestant, and we have a different alt, and the alt is like, yo, eat this hamburger.
Yeah.
That would be a horrible thing to do.
Right.
But because it's nudity, we're supposed to giggle.
And it's never sexualized, to be fair. Avocado's nudity. In the early part, it's not sexualized. I meant in the incident with Kelly.
True.
It is not remotely sexualized. It's kind of more like having a roommate who walks around naked and you're just like, Steve's at it again.
I mean, if this came out today and the headline read, Christian virgin girl forced to sleep in room with naked man for reality show, people would be upset.
Is Kelly upset about him being naked, though? I don't think she was.
She was upset. She was like, he's just walking around naked. I don't get it. It wasn't I want to say discussion, but she wasn't disgusted. That's what I want to say. And she wasn't, furious. It was just kind of she was taken aback.
She kind of seemed, giggly about it. It didn't seem to upset her as much. It's definitely a questionable situation in 2018.
Yeah.
But in 2004, I do imagine that there were discussions and warnings, because she didn't seem super shocked.
Right.
So I think there were a lot of off-screen warnings, discussions, and waivers in this.
Yeah, there would have to be.
Because there's certain things, especially toward the end, that like there's one witch trial that they would have had to really talk me through.
Yeah, we'll get to that one because that's like Final Four.
Yeah.
So Kelly, turns out, she is the worst person.
Yeah. She's a drunk.
Yeah, she's
like a mean drunk.
Yeah, she's a mean drunk and like very confrontational and wants to get her way. And they play a clip of her saying, I don't want to talk to you anymore.
I don't want to talk to you anymore.
Like a bunch of times.
Yeah.
And you can tell that she lives her life through drama.
Right.
Because in the beginning, they kind of make her out to be like the unpopular kid at school. And because when she does the one thing with, I believe it's the Wiccan thing, where it's like, what is your greatest fear? And it's like being made fun of. Like other people, picking on me.
Being picked on, left out, and afraid people don't like her.
Yes. So they have her get up and have her scream it out. Mm-hmm. And she screams.
We're going to play that clip.
And then later on, she's like, I hope that didn't seem fake. I've never had a problem screaming. And like, you can tell when you watch that clip back, because they show it a lot, she screams and then she just kind of like looks around. And like, she does this weird thing where she's like, I scream! And then like this weird...
She buries her face in her own shoulder.
Yeah, like this
and
weird...
she's got a perma-pout.
Yeah.
She's pouting literally the whole show. And like, when she's eliminated... She has like a murder face on, but like the least threatening murder face ever.
Yeah. She wants to, and when she leaves, and this is common with a lot of them, but especially with her, they immediately call all the alts freaks.
Yeah, they show that like whatever the objective of the show was, they've learned literally nothing.
Yeah.
So
if that's the objective.
You do get to see the cute slices of life with the roommates.
Mm-hmm.
And like, you get to see Kelly and Avocado interact, and that's, like, the most you actually like Kelly is when she's talking to Avocado.
Right.
Which is probably why I never, like, thought about the idea of her being terribly uncomfortable, because that's the happiest and least uncomfortable we see her.
That's true.
I also have a note that Bonnie and Art are in a charming BBC comedy. Like, Bonnie and Art, more than any two people, Art's one of the alts and Bonnie's one of the contestants, they come off of this show, they come out smelling like roses.
Yeah.
Like, Bonnie...
Happy people.
Bonnie's elimination is one of the few that just feels arbitrary.
Yeah.
Where they were like, well, you're just old.
Yeah.
Like, it kind of feels like, well, you're not cute enough to win.
Well, she also sits out of some stuff.
Right, she sits out of one of the nudity challenges.
Yeah. Now, throughout the first 3 or so episodes, I call it the Kelly arc, because it's all about hating her and waiting for her to leave. Once she leaves, all of a sudden, all the other contestants have personalities.
Yeah, we don't know much about anybody.
Because, like, soon as she's gone, it's like, okay, we've invested in this character. We all feel satisfied that she's gone. Now, it turns out that Noel's conspiring.
Yeah, like, during the Kelly arc, the only other characters we really learn almost anything about her. Nicole, because Kelly singles out and hates Nicole.
Right.
And Tim, who singles out and really hates Kelly.
Yes.
Like, more than anybody else does.
Well, Tim is also unlikable in
his own right. But not yet.
Right. Yeah. But it's Eric and Noel that are scheming?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
There's a nice moment where I get Lana earlier. Because the first, like, real impression we get of Lana, of her doing something outside of her talking about how much she reads the Bible and how Christian she is when Tim and Kelly are screaming at each other, Lana and Avocado, like, pop out of a wall, like, ooh.
Yes. Yeah.
And I was like, no, I get this. Like, I understand them in this moment.
So we embark on this long arc where it's basically Eric plants these seeds that Nicole, who he believes to be the biggest competition, is fake. Mm-hmm. And Nicole does, like, talk about herself a lot, and she's always talking, and, like, she can relate with everybody, so it's a little suspicious. But the alts all seem to like her, so he's trying to plant these seeds in trying to get her kicked out.
Yes.
And when I watched this first run, I was like, wow, what a scumbag. Watching it again, I had to think, well, the only instructions they have is make sure the alts don't eliminate you. He's at least trying.
He does. For a game that seems to be about spirituality, though, I don't consider Eric or Noel very good players, because the editing makes Eric look about as subtle as a bag of hammers.
Right, right.
Because we just see him constantly going up to alts and being like, yo, Nicole's fake, dudes.
Yeah, very true.
Like,
very true.
It's very, very ham-handed.
Yeah, and this feels very early reality show.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the tricks of the trade are not in play yet. Because this is 2004? 2003?
2004.
2004. This is when, like, Survivors blew up, like, only a few years ago. So every channel's like, we need a reality show now. So they don't know how to make them yet. Because how many shots in this show are blocked by foliage? Like, so much of this show happens behind trees.
Yeah.
So they're trying to figure this out. And the one thing I kept asking you, and you said you couldn't really find any research on this, was producers' interference. For the most part, I think this is pretty much what happened.
Yeah, I mean, they don't talk a lot about producer. I didn't find anybody talking a great deal about producer interference. I found interviews with Lana and Fiona that complained about editing. Mm-hmm. But not so much about the producers interfering.
Okay, yeah, that's... I wouldn't be surprised.
Because Fiona kind of points out that they compressed 2 days, essentially, into a 1-hour episode.
Right, okay. That makes sense.
So there were so many things we didn't see. Like, apparently there was always morning yoga, there were good conversations.
Right.
But we're only
They're not
seeing...
interesting.
Yeah. So she did complain about that in an interview a couple years later.
So we are underway in what I'm calling the Eric Nicole arc.
I think that needs to be the Eric Fiona Nicole arc.
Yes, because Fiona, which is of course the Wiccan of
Yes.
the group, gets a little bit too comfortable with Eric.
Yeah, it's definitely... She starts a... not relationship, but she has a situation with Eric that does not feel above board.
Yeah. It's... because there's one moment where she's doing the tarot cards.
Right.
That's
and she draws
super
the
awkward.
star for him.
Yes. And one of the things she says is...
Directly ahead of you. Ah, girlfriend. And she's blonde. She's a queen. Maybe you might actually go out with someone a little bit older than you. Just a little bit.
Who could that be?
Like, just trying to describe herself as much as she can. And she even does, like, a thing where she brings her hands up to her mouth like she's being shy.
Yeah.
And I was like, terrible flirting.
Yeah.
Like, there is footage of her, like, sitting in a circle of candles with a lock of his hair.
Yeah. Fiona also bullies Lana for like a couple of episodes straight while this is happening.
Yeah.
She bullies Lana. They do a goddess ritual. And she pretty much... It's not a religious ritual. It's about celebrating the goddess in every woman, which is a Wiccan thing. Some of the things she does and says are a little... about whether they're really Wiccan tenets, like the... We'll get into that. So they do this goddess ritual, and she pretty much, like, kind of mean girls high school tells Lana, like...
Certain things. Sorry to interrupt. What I'm doing now is I'm going to invite you. We're doing a ritual down in the garden, very impromptu, just for the women.
For the women, I understand that.
Yeah, and so, but it's a ritual where it's a goddess honouring ritual, so you have to be prepared to consider yourself a goddess, be treated like a goddess, and call yourself a goddess. And I anticipate it's probably not something you really want to do.
Like the way you would to your Sweet 16.
Yeah.
Like it's very frenemy.
Yeah, it's all the girls, but, you know, you won't like it. So, you know, you don't like anything I do. So, you know, you don't have to come.
And like
her mom forced her to ask.
Yeah, and then Lana talks to Art, and Art is voice of reason of like, don't do it for her, do it for you. Mm-hmm. And Lana's like, yeah, I'm gonna go do it, and she really enjoys it.
Yeah, so they paint themselves, and
they anoint themselves in white clay, they hold hands, they wash the clay off each other. And like, it's a little... It's played up to look a little more sexual, because it's reality TV.
Well, then the dudes show up, and like...
This is a little bit funny.
And like, they stop, and it's like... they found the promised land. And they're like, what's happening?
It's very Revenge of the Nerds,
And the goddesses are like, oh, if you want to be with us, you have to worship us. So bring us wine and food, and you're going to have to give us massages. And Noel goes,
Let me get this straight. In order to enter your circle, we need to get drunk and give you massages.
Yes.
And then they run away.
Yeah, like the three of them are standing there, and then Noel says that. They tell him yes, and they leave Noel there. Eric and Brent drop what they're doing and take off at a full run back to the house.
Yeah, it's happening. And then massages happen, and Eric's hands go further and further north on her
Fiona's
legs.
leg. Yeah, on Fiona's leg specifically. It's a nice, but it's also something very strange to me because it's so joyful, and we don't get a lot of like happy, fun moments.
Yeah, this
in reality
is the
TV.
last one in this show,
and there aren't many to begin with in reality shows where it's not really drama. It's actually everyone getting along.
Yeah, I can't think of too many other ones, but this is the start of their relationship that will continue throughout this show. And slowly but surely, other people are getting picked off. Eric is remaining, and his buddy Noel is there, and Nicole's able to hang on, while all these other people are slowly being chopped off.
Right, and then, like, at one point, Fiona invokes a dark goddess, and she drinks while doing it, I believe, and, like, that's not cool.
Right.
Because in Wicca, alcohol should be avoided in that situation.
Right, okay.
And the dark goddess, she keeps kind of going like chaos and darkness, and the dark goddess is justice.
Huh.
Like, the charge of the dark goddess and god and goddess is more about justice and more about balance than chaos.
Well, the whole reason that she
in my research
invokes the dark goddess is to test Eric to see if he's lying about Nicole to just to win the money.
Right.
So what she does to test Eric is dress in black leather and tease him.
Yeah, she has a very like middle school girl Riverdale fight with him.
Yeah.
That she's his roommate for that week, and she doesn't let him come in the room. Like, he goes, like, can I come in? No!
No. I mean, not.
And she does, like, when she's invoking the dark goddess, she dresses in black, and it's very ham-handed. And I keep thinking of Riverdale, because I'm like, oh, she's Dark Betty.
Yeah.
Like, she puts on a different outfit. Now she's a mean witch. Like, it's very middle school musical theater symbolism.
Yeah, it's a little confusing. And until we get to, like, the final five, I don't know if there's anything else of, like, super note to bring up other than the vampire ceremony.
Yeah, like, I am looking at the Dark God and Goddess, and it's justice, protection, wisdom, conquering fear, banishing bad habits. There's nothing about annoying a boy you like.
double check that.
No, protecting children, gaining strength. Oh, no, wait, there it is. Upsetting Nicole.
Upsetting Nicole. Okay.
Yeah, apparently that's
There's
in there.
a whole goddess thing for that, huh?
They do the Tower of Doom quest.
The Tower of Doom quest.
Which is the one where they're locked in the tiny
cage?
tower.
Yes.
Yeah, and then each one... And this is noteworthy mostly because Jamie is the first to quit.
Right.
And Jamie has quit or freaked out at most of the challenges at one point or another at this point in the game.
Right. And this is also interesting because it again plays to strategy. Eric is the second to leave, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Second or third. And his reason to leave is, I want to go talk to the alts alone while everyone else is stuck in the cage. It's like, yes, reality show strategy. Why wouldn't you do that? And that is won by Tim.
Yes.
When he is locked in the cage they're locked, the cages get smaller as people leave.
Right.
He's left in the cage with either Nicole or Lana?
No, Lana leaves very early.
Probably Nicole then.
Yes.
And they're locked in this cage. It's very tight quarters. And Tim goes,
You know, I have been missing something. I've just been missing something. Been a while.
Oh,
Been a long time that I've been this close to a woman.
Tim, don't perv on me. We're way the
I'm
up
not
here.
perving on
Okay.
you. It's just I know what I've been missing now.
It's gross.
and she's like, oh, well, I'm just going to leave because I don't want to be in here with you anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, it's strategy, I guess, but gross.
And after that, Fiona reads Eric's cards and she's wearing white again.
Oh, so dumb. We have to...
Oh, and we see infighting with the alts for the first time.
Yes.
We see Art and Don have a fight.
Because this is something I thought in the beginning, which was like, you know, vampire, vegan, and Wiccan, kind of different ends of the spectrum.
Right.
It's not like these are five people that would normally just hang out and talk about the things they're into.
No, like Avocado likes daytime and walks around naked, and Don's a vampire.
Don's a vampire and hates the sun. So I was like, these people shouldn't be friends. And they're not. They don't actually like each other that much. Which is cool for a reality show.
Yeah, there's one point where Jamie volunteers to get a belly button piercing by Art. And he invites all the alts, including Don, who's asleep in his coffin, because of course he is.
Yeah.
And Don gets a salty attitude with Art about it, and then Art's like, you don't have to be here then.
Yeah. Man, American Idol would be a better show if Simon Cowell had to live with the contestants the whole time.
I mean, did you watch any of the Nicki Minaj Mariah Carey season?
No.
That was what this is, essentially.
Oh, okay.
Like, I didn't watch American Idol, and I watched clips from that season because, like, Nicki and Mariah did not be friends. They did not become friends. They did not be friends. Oh my gosh. Words.
So a lot of, like, people are eliminated. I think the only other thing of note we need to bring up until the final five, where they do the twist, is the vampire ceremony. The vampire ceremony...
Are we talking about the rite?
The rite?
Like his showcase.
His showcase,
okay,
yes.
So the vampire showcase.
Yes, the vampire showcase. We showed Dom with, like, his creatures of the night, which they do admit is his girlfriend.
And, like, her creepy friend, I guess. Who's Orin from Parks and Rec.
Yeah. I'm a sheep. So, he's, like, just kind of being creepy. And, it's like, let me drain the energy out of one of you.
Yeah.
And he drains the energy out of Noel. Like, who wants to be drained completely? And Noel's like, of course I do. And, like, he acts like he's going to bite his neck, doesn't, and then they collapse to the floor.
And Noel tells Lana later he was pushed.
Oh, really?
Yes, when, in Lana's interview, she says that, he claims to have been pushed to the floor by Don and his creepy Shining twins.
Okay, so they collapse to the floor, and he's just kind of going, and then he tries to stand, and, like, kind of stumbles, and, like, in a talking head mentions, like, I don't know what was up with my leg, but it wasn't holding my weight right. And then Dom turns to someone and says,
Go grab me a soda, please.
And they hand Noel a ginger ale.
No. There's a really good shot of he goes, can someone get me a soda? And Eric takes off and runs.
My buddy Noel needs a soda!
Oh, I think it's, I'm getting out of here, bye! What we didn't see is apparently, first Don asks for a volunteer that had a problem area on their body. And Nicole volunteers.
Okay.
And she had a problem on her shoulder. And he performed an energy transfer between him, his girlfriend, and Nicole's shoulder. And Nicole claimed to have felt a change of temperature in the shoulder, cool and warm sensations.
Okay.
But that wasn't sufficiently interesting, so it was cut.
So it was cut. But, like, just so you know, the truth about vampires are they don't mind crosses, they don't mind garlics, they don't turn into a bat, and they can be cured with ginger ale.
I mean, it's not even like Harry Potter, like, here, eat some chocolate.
No, it's just like, well, we need a Canada Dry now! And then he brings his girlfriend out and he says usually he'd use a knife for this. But,
that's producer intervention.
But they're like, whoa, too much. So he uses a syringe and he draws blood from her, squirts it from the syringe into a goblet, and he's like, most people would throw up from this. And then he drinks the blood.
And he takes, like, a theatrically long time to drink what is a small amount of blood. And Jamie goes full Jim from The Office in this episode.
Yeah.
She is, I swear they're keeping her around for reaction shots at this time.
She's very emotive eyes. But even, like, at this point, Fiona cracks up.
Yeah, Fiona begins to giggle insanely.
Yeah. And then they kind of, like, later on, they're like, oh, it's bad mojo in the house, and then they sage the house afterwards.
Yes, they do smudge the house.
But, like, they watch Noel get attacked by energy and then have a soda.
Yeah, Fiona does point out that there should have been a sacred space, which I don't know if that's a thing in vampirism. It is a thing, in fact, in Wicca, creating a sacred space before you act. And the thing that the alts are upset about isn't so much the blood drinking, but that there was not a sacred space and that it was dangerous, and then that Noel could have been spiritually hurt.
Yes. And, like, this is the only part of the show I really don't buy.
I do buy that Nicole wore a scarf and that Jamie almost, like, passes out.
Yeah, because it's definitely gross.
Yeah.
But, like, the whole thing with Noel being shoved to the ground, and, like, I don't think Fiona felt a presence. I think Fiona laughed.
Yeah. I agree.
Because I laughed.
Yeah, it's very... and, like,
silly.
If she had just, owned up to the idea of, like, it's like how you laugh at a funeral. Like, she was anxious, and the energy in the room was negative. The women try to comfort Fiona. They're mad at... Eric and Noel are mad at Fiona in this episode because they didn't get their way.
Right.
Because Nicole is still there.
So, we eventually get to... Well, everyone hates Nicole.
Yes.
And, was there something you wanted to bring up about the Nicole arc here of her trying to be everyone's friends but being so fake?
You hit a point where you don't feel bad for anyone except Nicole.
Yeah, because everyone hates her because she's the front runner.
Eric, Lana, and Noel really gang up on her, and Jamie just kind of, like, flies under the radar. Like, Jamie will agree or disagree based on who's in the room.
Yeah, basically.
But Jamie is the only one who also doesn't shoot her mouth off to the alts. Mm-hmm. Which is a smart move. But everyone else constantly smack talks Nicole in front of the alts. And the camera. And Nicole. And just literally anyone who will listen. Like, if there was a shot of Eric complaining to a squirrel about how fake Nicole is, I would have bought it.
And then a talking head with the squirrel, like, squeaker, squeak, squeaking, squeak,
and
squeaker,
then,
squeak.
Then Kronk comes out and translates.
He said he doesn't like Nicole. That was my Kronk impression.
Patrick Warburton does not need to worry about his job.
So we get down to Final Five, and this is where we get our reality show twist.
Right.
and the 5 alts come out, and they give each of their necklaces to one of the contestants.
And Nicole has immunity, which is important.
Nicole has immunity, and they're like, tonight, you will be voting. Which is probably the worst thing from a competitive point of view I've ever seen in a reality show.
Yeah.
This is dumb. Because everyone votes one at a time in front of each other.
Yep.
Lana goes first, and Lana votes for Noel. So in front of everyone sees Noel has 1 vote. If you want to win the money, and you're not an idiot, you're voting for Noel.
Right.
Because it only takes 3 votes, and you're guaranteed Final 4.
Right.
And what do you know? That's what happens.
Yeah, Eric votes for Noel, Jamie votes for Noel, Noel votes for Eric, and then Nicole, knowing her vote doesn't matter, makes a big show about not voting for Noel.
Yeah.
And tells Lana the necklace is only for decoration.
Yes.
And puts it on Lana.
Yes. And then they
instead of putting it on Eric, so it looks less like she has an axe to grind.
Exactly. And then Noel is told that he's not going home. Only the alts can vote you out. Trickery. We just wanted to see what you think of each other. Well, you didn't learn that because it's 5 people trying to win $1,000. I'm sorry, $100,000.
And the person they all don't like was immune.
Yeah, so this was pointless.
And the editing here is, again, pretty kind to Nicole. Because the next thing we see is Jamie cries at every elimination, like, without fail.
Oh, yeah. And always with the runny mascara.
Yeah, like, she cries at every elimination. And the next shot we see of Nicole is Nicole drying Jamie's tears.
Yeah.
So, like, the editing does set you up because Nicole doesn't actively backstab anybody. That
Right.
Nicole is one of the only nice people in the house.
Yes, that's the story they're trying to tell.
The next episode has a Pretty Woman montage for no reason.
Yeah, we're just changing clothes. What a weird thing.
They go shopping for Dawn's challenge.
But, like, what? Which one of them? This is Dawn?
Yeah, it's Dawn.
Like, I don't think one of the lessons we're supposed to learn is the importance of material goods. Like, this really shows that, like, the point of the show is to make 5 strangers like you. That's it. It has nothing to do with spiritual growth, opening your mind. It's just like, how can I get these 5 people to like me more than these other people?
Yeah, and at this point, like, there is a level of personal. Fiona is still kind of championing Eric.
Yes. And I think we need to do the small arc that we get for Noel with the cough syrup.
Oh my gosh. I do have interesting things I found about that.
Okay, well, I will give you the brief rundown of what happens here. Tia Nishia, which is not how you say her name, asked Noel about...
Ia Tashia.
Asked Noel about him taking cough syrup to help him go to sleep. And Noel then says in a talking head, like, so I took cough syrup because Art snores and I have to stay with him, so I thought it would help me sleep. But then I realized, if these people think I have a substance abuse issue and then give it up, I will look great. So he plays it up like, I just use it like 2 or 3 times a week.
Yeah, Noel acts like he's like a recovering drug addict.
Yeah, like he has a problem. And then like makes this big show like, I'm going to give you the cough syrup. This way I can't use it because I'm giving it up. And Ia Tashia is like, well, why do you need to do that? Just give it up. And he's like, because I want to make a show of it.
Right.
And then...
Noel is so genre savvy.
Yeah. Then Lana accidentally, like...
Sells him out.
It's like, is Noel been drinking? He's like, no, Noel doesn't drink. Like, every once in a while I've seen him take, like, cough syrup. Like, and, like, was referring to, like, one moment. And Ia Tashia was like, liar!
Yeah, and Lana, in the interview I saw with her, she claims to have not really been around Western medicine much.
Okay.
So she said, like, she bonded with avocado because in her childhood, things were cured with herbal tea, and they were big into these, holistic remedies. And she didn't know that cough syrup was any kind of issue.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
So, like, Lana she claims not to have realized that this would be a situation.
Okay. I mean...
But it gets blown crazy out of proportion. Everybody freaks out and Noel is eliminated.
Yeah, because, well, she has no knowledge of this fake backstory that Noel has given himself.
Right. He doesn't tell anyone, like, I'm pretending to be a recovering drug addict for the lulz.
Which, hey, great strategy.
It would have been if it worked.
But I also kind of like that the alts were like, well, this person has a drug problem. So, screw him.
But in the next episode, because Nicole didn't really have immunity, because no one was eliminated, she gets immunity on the blood drinking challenge.
Yeah, she doesn't have to do the blood drinking challenge, but the challenge is to drink blood.
Which I think is like one of those things where I'm like, oh, lawyers and waivers and stuff had to be involved here.
Well, they say it's animal blood.
Lawyers and waivers still had to be involved there. Lana actually throws up.
Yeah.
She wins immunity, but she throws up.
She throws up blood.
Yeah, which, call a hospital. But the thing is, the other contestants choose how many goblets of blood each person gets. So, like, Noel has the most when it's time to drink the blood. He has 7, yes. Eric has 6, Jamie and Lana each have 3, and Nicole didn't even have to participate because she had immunity. So Lana chugs her blood fastest. She throws it up. She has immunity, and there's a really intelligent moment Eric has where she's in the bathroom and Eric knocks on the door. Lana, are you okay? Here's a towel and water. Like, oh, the person who could break the tie.
Yeah.
Please like me.
Yeah, he's playing the game. Like, I respect this dude.
Yeah.
Because he thought he was going to be on a reality show where he could lie, cheat, and steal. Like, he's going to do it anyway in this weird semi-dating show.
Noel is ultimately eliminated.
Noel goes away, and, he hates the alts because he got voted out. So, we get to our final 4.
Yeah, and we're starting to see what the challenge is. A card go up that's like, hey, don't do any of this.
Yes, this is the witch trial challenge, correct?
Yeah, and I legitimately, this is where I think waivers and lawyers and producers must have intervened, because I legitimately would have needed producers to assure me this was not
what happens in this one is you stand on gallows
over the pool,
and you answer questions about your previous house guests, which is a standard in most reality shows.
Yeah, like remembering where you came from.
Yes, and if you get a question wrong, they dot your head.
They give you the mark of the witch.
The mark of the witch.
Dot your head.
There's a lot of dotting that happens in this.
Oh my god!
In this show, they give you the mark of the witch, which is a dot, and
it looks more like Ash Wednesday ashes.
It does. And then if you get another one wrong,
they put a noose around your neck.
Put a noose around your neck, and then if you get another one wrong,
trapdoor.
The floor drops out, and you fall into the pool. You're not hung, but you fall into the pool. But you do have to stand there with a noose around your neck for a while.
And, like, with the knowledge that eventually, if you lose, that trapdoor is going to give out. Like,
yeah.
That's terrifying, and that could have gone horrifically wrong.
Yeah, I for the most part, know how they did that. So
the rope was just very long.
The rope's very long. It was never cinched. It was probably made of something stretchy. And
there was probably not a knot.
Yeah, there's not a knot.
Like, it was probably a solid rope and the knot was, like, around it for decorative, so it probably never tightened.
Yeah, exactly.
But, like, I would still need to be, like, talked through doing that. Like, I used to do theater, and my biggest fear was, like, having to get shot or hanged or something on stage.
because of the crow.
Yeah! Dude died doing that.
But 2 things about this this challenge I need to bring up. One is, you said that this challenge went on for hours, and we see, like, maybe 6 questions on the show.
And we do see an obvious edit point.
Yeah, so they're up there for hours answering these questions.
Lana claims it was about 2 hours.
Cold.
Yeah, they claim it's about 2 hours, and, like, there's a really obvious edit where we never see Nicole get the mark of the witch.
Right.
It just cuts away and cuts back, and she has it.
Right. The other thing I want to bring up here is, this is, of course, Fiona's challenge, because she's Wiccan. She's like, yes, my ancestors, during the Salem witch trials, were hung and burned at the stake, And that's why we're doing this challenge.
Yes.
Let's, again, flip the script. And let's say one of the alts is, I don't know, Catholic. Could you imagine there being a challenge like, well, Jesus was crucified. For this challenge, you'll each have to carry this 70-pound cross up this hill.
To be fair, I could totally see a reality show doing that.
I could never see that.
People
would be so angry.
I couldn't see them actually going through with a crucifixion, but I could see them dragging the cross up the hill. Like, I'm sorry, I could see, like, a really tasteless reality show that, like, Jeff Foxworthy hosts.
Or, like, this is the Jewish challenge. You're going to hold this knife over your firstborn son. And just wait. And see if you can hold out before killing your son. And see if God intervenes. Like, if you took a popular religion and were like, we're going to make this a game show, people would be very upset by this.
You have to run away from a thing and not look back at it.
Yeah. You need to collect 2 of every animal on the face of the earth. No, like...
Oh, I could absolutely see, like, a Noah's Ark. I could see one where you had to fight out of the belly of the whale. Like, I could see... I'm sorry. They're tacky reality shows. I could see someone doing this.
I don't think you could go this route.
I don't know that you could necessarily...
Because, well, could you imagine, like, let's just say, like, it's a rabbi, a priest, I know this is the beginning of a joke, like, you know, what's another popular religion? A Muslim, a Buddhist, and they're the alts and stuff like that. And then the person getting eliminated goes, there are a bunch of freaks with their religions. Like, so many people would be furious.
I mean, part of it is that art and avocado aren't necessarily religious. Theirs are more lifestyle-y.
Right, okay.
Like, we don't really ever see anything about, like, spirituality as much with avocado. Like, avocado is dude who likes being naked and doing yoga. Mm-hmm. Art never really addresses spirits or God. He's more of, like, a mental spirituality. Like, what art and avocado in particular do could go hand in hand with nearly any religion.
True, but what I'm saying is, like, I'm an open-minded dude. Live and let live and all that good stuff. I'm pretty open-minded. I love hearing what other people think about how the world exists and things like that. But when someone comes up to you and is like, well, you have a unique version of the world, let's turn it into a reality show. It's like, I don't know if you take your life that seriously.
I mean, the only alt I could find a lot about is surprise, surprise, Fiona.
Ooh, I thought it would be Dom.
Oh, I have found a bit about Don.
Okay,
but
is it Don?
Don, like D-O-N.
His name is Donald.
Yeah,
Donald the vampire.
Donald the vampire.
Not Dom, like Dominists the vampire.
Nope.
No, I'm
Dom,
Donald.
like
I'm Donald.
Don, like, shirt no pants. Donald Duckin.
How you doing? I'm Donald. I'm a vampire.
Oh man,
I will be removing your blood and drinking. I'm Donald the vampire.
But Fiona had been repeatedly trying to pitch shows about Wicca to Sci-Fi.
Oh. Well, before we get into the aftermath of the show, let's finish what happens on the show.
But that's, like, how she starts in this.
Oh, goodness.
So, we have, like, the don't do this card. We do the last roommate selection.
Yes.
And Fiona openly lobbies to room with Eric.
Yeah.
And,
of course.
I missed which of the male alt says this, but they, like, snap that they're not dating. She needs to cut it out. I think it's Avocado who actually snaps.
Right.
First.
Because we get down to our final 3, which is Eric, Jamie.
We're down to 4 at this point. Jamie, Nicole, Eric, and Lana.
Okay,
this happens.
Is there anything that we need to... Oh, okay. Continue.
Well, we're doing this thing with their roommates, and there's this moment where we see infighting with the alts again, and then Tashia picks Jamie, and Art picks Nicole, and Avocado picks Eric, and then Fiona and Don decide they're not having roommates. So they just send Lana to the dorm alone.
Yeah, that's right.
And apparently
shame her.
And they're like, it's not a punishment, but apparently they were up telling, like, haunted house and scary stories. So Lana was, like, desperate not to sleep alone. So she freaks out because, like, she didn't want to be sleeping alone because she was freaked out alone in the house. Like, that's why I do believe that this article was written by her, because that's definitely, like, a thing that would happen to me.
This is also very important. Lana is a child. Lana's 22?
Yeah, she is very young.
Yeah, and, like, at one point, Donald the vampire mentions that, like, he doesn't want to give the money to someone who's not living for themselves.
A child who's not living for themselves.
So that's kind of implying, like, she's still living at home with her parents and stuff. And so, like, she's not an independent woman yet.
No, she's very, very young.
Yeah, so we lose Lana this episode.
Yes.
And so I should ask, is there anything else from this interview that is important?
So, she claims that the editing was really nasty to her.
It's a reality show.
She says they overemphasized how, not they overemphasized, but, like, by hitting the drum about her Christian beliefs and that she likes to read the Bible, she felt very persecuted by the show. Mm-hmm. She felt like she and Brent were gone after by the producers and by the alts because they were Christian. And because they opted out of several early challenges, they kind of put, like, a mark on themselves.
Right.
And people went after them. She was the one who said that the witch trial went for a long time. And that she and Fiona had an argument about the questions. And she confronted the game producer. And this is the only time I've seen anything about someone discussing something with a producer. Because she didn't think it was Fiona's fault, but Fiona and she had an argument because of it, and that's how the drama between Fiona and Lana in the later episodes starts. Oh. But they can't show that because it's
production.
It stems from an argument with the producer, but they wanted to use Lana and Fiona freaking out at each other.
Huh. Interesting.
The interview with Lana is Lana's own worst enemy at times, because she talks about that they talk about the witch trials and the Inquisition and stuff, and she goes, well, sure, maybe those things happened, and I was like, no. Stop talking.
That happened.
Like, no, oh gosh. So a lot of the interview I read was, I mean, it felt like the point of view of a very young woman. Yeah. Like, of someone very, very...
Sounding off on the early internet.
Yeah, like sounding off on the internet before the internet was what it is now. This was like, this was pre-Twitter.
Yeah.
Which I realized, like, when I was digging around, that I couldn't find much about anybody on Twitter.
Yeah.
So this was pre-Twitter, and the really interesting thing Lana drops...
Yeah.
...is apparently we are never shown this in any episode. There is a segment during the elimination ceremony where each contestant gives a plea to why they should be allowed to stay in the house.
That makes sense.
And we never see it. It's something the producers must have thought we might want, and then decided against using.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah, that's bolded in my,
I mean, like, you know, I could see getting rid of that. I bet it takes up a lot of time, and it's a lot of just like, please!
Right, and it probably didn't further any storylines.
Because we do see every episode the alts just having a discussion.
Right.
And I'm sure that's after the pleas. So, like, I guess they're summing it up.
Yeah.
Well. So that makes sense. So we lose Lana, and we get down to our final three. Eric's trying his best to get rid of Nicole. And they have to hang from hooks. Not inserted in their skin, but just standing on, like, a big old hook with rocks tied to them.
Yeah, like, it's a physical trial, and we're down to Jamie, Jamie and Eric at this point have never won trials.
Right.
Nicole has won a few.
Yes.
And did not have to participate in Don's trial.
Now, is this when we have the alts fight, or is that next episode?
That's in the finale.
Okay, that's in the finale. Okay, so we lose Eric, and there's not much to discuss there besides...
But the episode 9 opens with Don kind of voicing what the audience must be thinking at this point, going, I don't know why Jamie's still here.
I don't know.
Don starts to, like, come off low-key misogynistic somewhere around episode 7 or 8.
You felt like he came off misogynistic?
I think because there were not enough male... Like, it might just be misanthropic, because I just think there weren't enough male contestants left for him to be crappy to them.
Okay, that makes sense.
So, like, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, no, there just wasn't enough guys left there for him to be crappy to.
Well, I mean, like, the dude's got an iron deficiency.
Yeah.
Or iron surplus, probably. So, he's, like, grumpy all the time.
Fiona's the worst. Don is a close second. So they do the episode 9. Jamie and Tashia have a conversation. We don't see a lot about Tashia. She's, like... We don't see her as much. Like, I think as far as judge guest interaction, we see Fiona the most, then Art, then Avocado. And Art and Avocado are pretty close.
Oh, yeah, right.
Long drop, Tashia. Longer drop, Don.
Yes, that sounds about right.
So we see Tashia and Jamie have a conversation, and this is the first time we see someone address what they do with the money.
Okay.
And Jamie is the exotic dancer, which they remind you every time she has a talking head. They make sure to write at the bottom, Jamie, exotic dancer.
Yes, they do.
Some other people are given their place of birth, or their hometown.
Yes, which I believe it's Lana, because she doesn't have a job.
Fair. So she talks about how she wants to start a gymnastics school for children.
Right.
And it's very wholesome, and she, like, shows Tashia some sketches and, like, some ideas she has. And it's, like, a nice moment. And then they go bowling.
Yes, and Don is great at it because a nice man helps him. And it's like, oh, it's like throwing a knife.
And he goes, bowling is really quite elementary. And everyone's just like, cool.
Yeah,
all right.
And then he wins at bowling.
And they went grocery shopping at one point, which was a much more interesting segment, because you see someone confront Art and Don about being weird looking.
Yes.
And Eric steps up for them.
Yes.
And we see, like, Eric actually have a nice moment. And we see, like, oh, this is what happens to them out in public, okay.
Right.
But, like, bowling, we see a couple reaction shots of people staring at them, and that's it.
That's all you get out of that one.
I guess everybody's like, nah, it's fine.
So then we get to our final 2. And they announce that they are going to have to go through a trial with all of the alts. So each alt will have a trial for them. And they're all boring.
Yeah, Jamie makes final 2. It's Nicole and Jamie in the final 2.
Yes, indeed.
And you start seeing a difference in how they're dressed. Like, I have a note of, like, Jamie starts dressing like Rey in Star Wars Force Awakens.
Okay.
Like, it's probably because they shot in winter and she's wearing a blanket. Mm-hmm. But it kind of looks like she's gotten, like, really into the spiritual lifestyle, and she kind of, like, dresses like a yoga teacher now. So there's these 5 trials. We'll go through them one by one, because it won't take long.
Trial 1 is Donald the Vampires, and he makes them listen to him read a book.
And sleep in a coffin.
And then sleep in a coffin together. But, like, he's even bored by the book. Like, there's a moment where he's reading, and he's like, there's just so much. And he, like, shows how many pages there are, and you're like, there's, like, so much. And, like, almost to be like, I found out today that I was supposed to have a trial for you guys. I thought the producers were going to write it. So, you guys are going to listen to me read this book.
He claims it's sleep deprivation, but it doesn't really happen. And then Avocado wakes them up naked and has them forage for breakfast.
Yes.
And, like, wants them to be game and eat the raw food. And, they're naked, and then we see both, mostly Fiona, but a little bit Tashia. They whine about the girls being naked. They sexualize the nudity.
Yes.
For the first time.
Because
the contestants didn't.
Yes. What they end up saying is...
Yeah, but you know, it's terrible to say this, but Avocado has spent the morning running around nude with her, and bless him, but he is a man ruled by his genitals, and then Art as well is like a man ruled by his genitals.
I don't know if the implication was going to be like, oh, they're just going to vote with their dicks, so it's not going to count. Like, what happened at this moment? There's like, oh, well, you should actually finally discuss this. It's like, they've been naked this whole time.
Yeah, and Fiona, like, projects hard here by claiming that, like, the other alts might have romantic or sexual feelings for Nicole or Jamie when we've seen her with Eric.
Yeah, it's just her upset that Eric's gone.
Yeah. And the trial, too, is eating breakfast with avocado.
Yeah, you have to eat a breakfast. And
Nicole throws it up. She throws up the seaweed. Mm-hmm. But she still finishes the rest of her food, so avocado's like, you both pass. Like, this is very, senior year finals. As far
exactly. Then
trial 3 is this is when we get the fight.
Yes.
Art and Fiona have an argument over Fiona being melodramatic about Eric leaving. Mm-hmm. And Tashia was supposed to speak to Art about Fiona's concerns.
Yes.
But hadn't had a chance to because probably like 5 minutes had elapsed. And Fiona freaks out.
Yeah, this leads to the single greatest moment in this show, which is...
There's like 2 in this scene alone.
Fiona is furious because Art has disrespected her. And Art just keeps saying, I wanted to know what you wanted to tell me, and then you refused to tell me. Like, that felt very disrespectful. I just want to know what's going on. And then Avocado comes in and says...
As she and I had agreed, she would be the one who would say the messages.
That was confusing to you. Could you imagine how I felt when I was just being baited and baited by 2 people? And
I'm sorry to interrupt here. I'm just going to blend this, pour it, and then it'll get everywhere.
May I finish without being interrupted, please? I'll let you finish.
Also, and then we got to Don, who opens his coffin, looks around, and closes it, and that's it. Which they had to have shot that shot, like, at the beginning of the season, like, we will find a spot for this moment.
Yeah, and then, like, during this argument, Art and Tashia are still eating their breakfast.
Yeah.
Like,
no, Art is eating his breakfast. Tashia's like, that looks good, can I have some? It's like, sure. So Art starts making the food for her while Fiona's yelling at him.
and then, like, Avocado's running the blender.
And then the fantastic line of Art going, I just can't take this drama. And Fiona says something along the lines of, yeah, I can't believe you got upset either.
Yeah, it's very, like... Oh, and she's back to being dressed in black for this episode, which is important.
The dark goddess. It's the dark goddess.
Until her trial, and she's wearing purple, and, like, the overall effect is probably supposed to be Earth Mother, but she kind of looks like Ursula the Sea Witch.
And, again, this is another intense trial.
Meditating in a cave blindfolded.
Is to sit on the ground.
And it's not like a cave, it kind of looks like... If you ever went to a corn maze at Halloween time...
So to recap, the final challenge so far has been listening to a book, eating a meal, and sitting on the ground.
Yeah, and the next one is, Art makes them drag weights around?
Yes, they have to walk around...
In a circle.
In a circle with a rock tied to them.
Yes.
You know, like Homer Simpson did in the Stonecutters episode? And they're told to just walk until Art tells you to stop.
Yeah, there's no... It ends up going for about, like, 45 minutes, according to them. But, like...
Less than an hour? Really?
Yeah, and there's no drama in it. Like, Jamie falters, but Nicole cheers her on.
Yeah.
Like, they're friendly. Whatever drama they're trying to get doesn't work, so we see about 12 seconds of it.
Well, Art says it's not a race. So, like, there's no reason to push yourself further or harder than...
No.
You know, a mosey.
And, like, the last rite is Tashia, and they shackle the women's wrists and blindfold them. Avocado anoints them, and then they just have to turn around, grab an envelope, and open the shackles and light candles. The whole thing is crazy anticlimactic.
Yeah, it's like they're never challenged in their last one.
It's not if everything's about spirituality isn't terribly telegenic.
Yeah.
Like, they might be feeling things or thinking things, but we don't see that.
I mean, part of Art's, methods is, if your body's in pain, put your mind somewhere else.
Right.
He kind of does test them on that.
Right.
But, like, nothing else is really tested.
No, and if it's about spirituality, Don makes no sense.
No, Don, like, finally is explaining what it means to be a vampire, and he is bored by it.
Yes.
So, it's just,
So then they have dinner, and guess what? It's everyone who's been voted off before.
Yeah.
This is a reality show.
We get to see Kelly be crazy again.
Notes include Noel confronting Tashia and Lana about the cold medicine.
Right.
And then Kelly and Tim just screaming at each other, and Kelly at one point screams, apropos of nothing, I don't believe in affirmative action.
I don't believe in affirmative action.
Yeah!
Like, for pretty much no reason. Tim calls the alt hypocrites, and then Kelly goes, I love them!
And you alts have been more hypocritical from day one than anybody in this house.
That's not true.
And for you to say right
true.
now,
I love them!
Yeah. Yeah. Just
turns him
she's
a dime.
against whatever anyone is saying. Because she hates them, and then she loves them because someone else is attacking them, and she's not getting enough attention.
Yeah, everyone's screaming at each other. Fiona defends Nicole for the first time. Everyone's screaming about how Nicole's fake. And then Jamie stands up and demands an end to the negativity or she will walk out of the house right now.
Right.
And nobody else wants Nicole to win, so everybody shuts up.
Yes. And then we have the moment where each person asks or answers who they want to win out of the two of them. And everyone says Jamie except for Bonnie.
Yes.
Who says Nicole.
And the alts say, like, Bonnie's vote ended up being worth more.
Well, also, it's a good payoff because there's an argument between Eric and Nicole when they ask them, hey, if the past guests got to vote, who would they vote for? And Nicole says, I think Bonnie would vote for me. And Eric's like, why would you think that? So it's a nice little, like, callback.
Yeah, and then we get to the final elimination, and the editing in this boils my blood.
I know it does, but this is a very much reality show thing. Anytime there's a vote, we cut to Eric for reactions.
And, like, we see maybe a shot or two of each other competitor, but we just so many shots of Eric, including one where he's real creepy and, like, licks his lips. It's just...
Yeah,
bleh.
it's gross.
And it reminded me of... like, we're supposed to be invested in the story with these two women and their spiritual journey, but at the end we're boiling it down to a man's reaction to their story. And that really bothered me. The deciding vote, two of them vote for Nicole, two of them vote for Jamie, and Avocado is the deciding vote. And he votes for Nicole, and Jamie wins. Jamie cries, and Nicole loses with grace.
Yes.
Unlike so many other people in the show, Nicole actually kind of puts her money where her mouth is, so to speak, and loses gracefully.
Yes. So they Avocado and Nicole hug and cry. Like, Avocado feels bad that Nicole doesn't win. Kind of. And then everybody's just, like, happy that Jamie wins. And then we end on an 80s movie still shot of Jamie's smiling face. And then credits.
Yeah.
No reunion episode.
Which is a bummer, because I would have loved to have seen 45 more minutes of Kelly screaming.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So I did some research.
Yes.
I read a sci-fi chat with... because remember when, like, celebrities would go into chat rooms? It was, like, ye old AMA.
I did that for G4 quite often.
So, this was ye old AMA with Don. You know what's really gothy and vampiric? Emoticons.
He uses a lot of emoticons.
Yeah,
right?
and, like, he's very cagey about his answers, and, like, I felt dumber for having read it.
Well, I did the tiniest bit of research. I know I'm usually not the research person, but I was curious if these people were actors. So I went on IMDb.
Yes.
On IMDb, Art has only done Mad House. Tashia, pretty much only Mad House. Avocado, pretty much the same.
He's done some yoga stuff. Don also was the vampire
on the Maury Povich Show. And man, I'd love to see that episode of the Maury Povich Show.
Oh, we might do like a mini-sode if we find that online after this.
Don on Maury Povich. And Fiona
has done a lot.
Has done a bunch of stuff, including she's on the soundtrack for Scooby-Doo.
She used to be in a girl band in Australia.
So I know you have a lot more on these alts, but I will say this. There's one more person that's listed on IMDb.
Okay. And
that person is Jacqueline Lick. Do you know who Jacqueline Lick was?
No.
I'm assuming that based on... Let me tell you some of the other projects she was in. You might know her from Homo Erectus, Anal Angels, MILF Lessons, and 12 Nasty Girls Masturbating 8.
You know, I was not aware that pornography gave you IMDb credits.
Neither did I.
I didn't know that.
I learned this today.
That's pretty interesting.
But I'm assuming she's one of the naked friends of Avocado.
Oh, wow.
And I find it interesting that no one else is listed on IMDb. The contestants, none of the other actors.
That's kind of funny that the contestants...
I was on Mad House, though.
Yeah, I mean, good for you. I mean, you have to be a certain amount of, like, exhibitionist and willing to be running around naked to be naked on a reality show.
So I was just like, so did Avocado not know these people and they actually just got a bunch of porn stars to be naked for that game?
Who's to say he doesn't know the porn stars?
Well, it turns out Jacqueline Lick, strict vegan, so probably a friend of Avocado.
Yeah, I was about to say, I mean, you know people who are in adult industries.
Yeah, that is true.
Like,
so that was the tiny research I did.
Okay.
So what else did you find out about this show?
So, reception to it, especially before it aired, the critics were like, this is bad. Variety hated it, called it contrived. Bad House was mentioned in multiple reviews. Yeah, it's, you know. But it did well with viewers. Mad House doubled the viewership of the Joe Schmo show.
Wait, what?
They compared it to the Joe Schmo show. I was reading like a reality TV news magazine online, and they said like it got 1.5 million viewers. It did very well for its time slot for Sci-Fi.
Oh, over. I think you were saying that somehow Mad House increased the viewers of the Joe Schmo show.
It had double the number.
That makes sense.
Oh, it did air on Thursdays, on their Thursday block from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. Yeah, I was reading some, actually, like, this show comes up in a surprising number of scholarly articles.
Really?
About, like, alternate lifestyles and reality show and voyeurism. So I saw a little bit here and there. They talk about how that structure, the structure of reality television, with its focus on sensationalism, emphasis on conflict, and acceptance of voyeurism, makes it ill-suited for discussion about religion. Which kind of goes into the finale about, like, these women are having a religious transformative experience, but it's bad TV.
Yeah. It's not worth watching. I will say, I watched this show first run, and I loved it. And I would talk to my friend Katie Reynolds about it every night, because we loved Avocado. So I loved the show when it was on. In retrospect, it's not as great as I remember it being.
Fiona claims to have turned down Mad House a couple of times, but she was shopping different pilots to Sci-Fi.
Okay.
And she still has a fairly present social media presence.
Okay.
She's not terribly famous, and she responds to people a lot on her Facebook, so she's very responsive.
We'll try to get her on the show.
Oh my god, that'd be so funny.
We'll have an interview with her.
I will end up in a screaming match with her, probably.
Yeah, I can't wait.
She'll listen to this episode and be like, why does your co-host...
No, we're going to interview her before this comes out.
Fair. Okay. She claims the relationship with her and Eric was completely fabricated by editors.
Okay. All right. Interesting.
But she's happy with how Wicca was represented.
Okay.
She doesn't feel that the craft was represented poorly. She does feel like she was represented poorly. Which Lana repeats that she felt she was represented poorly.
Okay.
And then there was the lawsuit.
Ooh. What happened?
So, this is a rare case of a reality show lawsuit being entirely frivolous.
Okay.
The National African Religious Congress sued before the show even aired to block the airing of the show because they claimed that Tashia wasn't really a voodoo priestess. She was representative of a different area of religion.
Okay.
So they wanted to sue to block the idea of voodoo being mentioned. The hard thing is the founder of the National African Religious Congress was actually their first choice for Tashia's role. And the injunction actually failed because of freedom of speech laws in America.
Interesting.
Interesting. The injunction was thrown out because they were like, this is America. If she wants to say she's a voodoo priestess,
yeah, all right.
We can't really do anything about it. So it was thrown out before the show even aired. And all it really did was get the show more press. Because I found a number of articles about it. They were all pretty repetitive, but a lot of people covered it. And, yeah, I mean, Dawn still has a bit of a Facebook presence. Fiona has a social media presence.
We'll be sliding into those DMs soon.
Avocado is a yoga instructor and an anti-vaxxer.
I'm not surprised.
And Art runs a tattoo shop in California.
Cool.
Tashia is a writer.
Okay.
Yeah, she actually uses the New York Times blurb about her character, about her persona in Mad Mad House.
Okay.
For her book.
Okay.
Because they say the voodoo priestess has a good head in her shoulders. And they say that for Mad Mad House's review, but she puts it on as her New York Times review blurb, which is pretty funny.
That's fun.
Yeah, so she's actually a writer, and she's been putting books out. Sorry, I forgot that I didn't write it down, so I forgot it.
Gotcha.
But Thrillist actually did an article about 2 years ago about this show. It was the most recent thing I could find for this show, outside of some mentions of it on, like, Reddit.
Okay.
And they were talking about the core idea of this show is the stay doomed idea.
Yes.
And they seem to be of the opinion, I'm going to throw this out here and ask you what you think, that in our very who's the most woke contest life in 2018, that this show would actually work in 2018.
I don't know if this show would work in 2018. Because, I mean, there's an element of, like, we're kind of supposed to laugh at them for being silly. Like, not a big one. Like, but, like, I definitely feel like we're supposed to laugh at Dawn. And we're supposed to laugh at Fiona sometimes.
I don't know that we're supposed to hate or laugh at Fiona. I think we're supposed to hate Fiona.
Yeah.
The editing makes her unreasonable and terrible. And I totally believe there's a lot of things we didn't see in the house. There's a lot of bonding we didn't see. There's a lot of good moments we don't see. But they did a good job of making, like, me hate Fiona.
That's true.
And doing this show, I've been really paying attention to the pay no attention to that man behind the curtain aspects.
Mm-hmm.
And how, like, you know, the female judges are kind of made to look a little more unreasonable. Because Tashia essentially gets null eliminated for a misunderstanding.
Right.
And Art and Avocado kind of come off as pretty chill and on the level. And then Don's just Don.
Yeah. I think, you know why I don't think the show would last today? Is they would never do it this way again. They would never get
not.
5 alts that are mostly pretty chill.
Yeah.
Like, if Don the vampire is going to be there, they're going to have the vampire hunter as the other alt so that they just smash into each other. And, like...
You wouldn't get a chill vegan like...
Yeah.
Avocado. You would get a very militant vegan who comes down on anyone who touches meat or dairy the entire time they're in the house.
Yeah, like, this is still a time in reality TV where it's like, let's kind of shake these things up and see what happens. Today's reality TV is, how can we create the most conflict as fast as possible?
I don't think they would necessarily be able to have a Wiccan.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, I've studied Wicca in my teens, because of course I did. And it's kind of a chill religion.
Yeah.
Like, it's very, like, nature-based. It's very, like, if you ever hear a Wiccan say they're gonna hex somebody, they're full of it.
Yeah.
Because the core tenet of Wicca is that everything that you put out into the universe comes back to you threefold.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I don't think they could have an actual Wiccan. Like, they'd have to have someone who is, like, lifestyle as like a witch, not a Wiccan.
Yeah, I think you could do something with this again. Like, the concept's not inherently bad of just being like, these people have to come in and live a different style of life. It maybe even just stay away from religion and just be like, it's a vegan, a dominatrix, someone who's married to a video game. I did another podcast a little while ago and that came up. Like just people who live very odd lifestyles that, you know, are outside of the normal realm of things.
A professional wrestler.
Yeah. There's enough reality shows with professional wrestling.
No, there can never be too many. I think you could bring back Mad House and do it as more of a social experiment. Like, drop the alts as being weirdos and have it be, like, you know, more activism-based. And have it be more of an experiment on empathy. But you'd never get... I mean, you'd get that drama in the Trump era.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Because, yeah, the other thing is, like, if you tried to do this again, you would get... The casting director would find the most racist, close-minded contestant possible to be on the show.
It's definitely... It's definitely would be harder to do in 2018 where everything is just so much more inherently political.
Yeah.
I mean, in the Trump era, there's nothing really apolitical anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, everything's kind of a political issue.
So I think that this would be... You couldn't do Mad House in a vacuum the way you did in 2004.
Yeah. Like, the idea on its own is not inherently bad, but getting those pieces to line up again doesn't seem like it would be doable.
Yeah. So, do you have any closing thoughts on Mad House?
I think it has to stay doomed due to circumstances.
Yeah, I think the amount of necromancing you would have to do to bring this show back, it wouldn't be recognizable.
No.
It would be full on Pet Cemetery. I think this one's got to stay doomed.
Yes, indeed.
This show is available as of this recording on Hulu.
Yeah, so check it out. Links below.
Unlike Superstar USA, you could sit down and watch the show. Yeah. It's not as repetitive.
Yes.
It's pretty entertaining. It kept my interest more than Superstar USA.
Yeah. It's worth a watch.
Yeah, it's a fun...
I mean, we spoiled it, but...
Yeah, but it's still fun. Like, I had the winner spoiled while I was doing research.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing research on, I believe, the lawsuit with Tashia, and they just spoiled that Jamie won for no reason, despite the fact that Jamie had nothing to do with the lawsuit.
Yeah,
I was super mad.
So that's a stay doomed vote from both of us. What will we be digging up in the reality plot next week?
So, in celebration of the royal wedding, we have exhumed Fox's dating show, I Wanna Marry Harry.
Yeah.
About women who go to a mansion to date and hopefully marry who they think is Prince Harry. But he's an impersonator!
Ooh, I'm not excited at all.
Oh, I'm super excited.
Get ready for Grumpy Noah next episode.
Oh, this is going to be so fun.
Don't care for this.
Count your blessings. We saved Celeb Reality for another month.
Yeah.
So you're not watching Daisy of Love this week.
Yeah. Woo.
So if you have any ideas for shows you would like us to do in the future, you can tweet at Stay Doomed or email us at thestaydoomedshow@gmail.com. And we're gonna start like a wish list of shows we would like to find. If you ever come across one, help us out.
Yeah, help us out. We enjoy making this show, and we want to make some more.
Yeah, there are shows that we have been unable to find, and then there are shows we found out to our horror ran more than one season.
Yeah,
looking at you, The Swan.
Yeah, we were excited to do The Swan, and it doesn't fit our criteria.
So Until next time, stay doomed.